last time in the previous video, go back and watch that, we talked about how to really improvise. Why is it that we have such a hard time improvising? And we talked about rhythm, or no, music being rhythm and the notes, right? And that thing that traps us up the most, trips us up, is the rhythm. We don't see it, we don't feel it, and then we try to, we can't end our runs, we can't finish that line in the right way, and we really need to diagnose where is our problem. Is it rhythm? What am I trying to do, and how am I trying to do it, right? So I'm trying to play 16 notes and I can't really play them. So go back and watch that. But then, okay, let's say you master rhythm. What about the notes? Well, then we can talk a lot about, scales. What scales can you use? What arpeggios can you use? But that doesn't really have anything to do with improvisation. It's just the kind of, you could say, the Lego blocks you use to build your house. But you can be creative with just blue Lego blocks. You don't need red and greens and, we don't need all those scales. We don't need all those arpeggios to start improvising. So what is the next limiting factor, basically? And if you master rhythm, then the limiting factor is actually everything else. It's your phrasing techniques, it's the scales, it's the techniques, it's the hammer-ons and pull-offs, it's the sliding, the bending, the everything, the vibrato. And everything you try to use that you do not master, it's going to come out wrong. It's going to come out in like insecurity, like, I'm trying, but I can't, right? So it really is the best exercise that you can do, and please stick with this, please listen up now, is to take that zone where we normally improvise, because this is why our solos come out wrong, or we think, or we hear them and go, oh, I don't like the sound of that. It's because this is the zone in which you work. What you need to do is you need to limit that zone from here to here. That's the zone you can work in, because you need to master everything you do. It's like language. If you don't master the language and you only know half the words, you're going to sound a little bit like an idiot. You are, although you're not, right? You're just going to sound stupid. It's just, if you don't master the language. We're going to, in Denmark, we had a prince that was married to our queen, and he was from France. And he learned to speak the language, and he was pretty good at it, but he sounded like a clown very often. I'm not trying to put anybody down, and then I heard him at his son's confirmation, I think it was, and then he went from Danish, which was right, to French. And it was like, wow, there's an intelligent, educated person there, right? But so it's the same thing with soloing. If you do not master the notes in what you're doing, you're going to sound like duh, right? So you can't get it out. Whatever you hear in your head, you can't get out. So what you need to do is limit what you're actually trying to play to the simplest of all. So let's say you got control over those 60 notes. Let's say that's the level when it comes to rhythm. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, ba, ba da da, ba da 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 da, ba da da. So you can select whatever of the subdivisions that you want to play on. Then what you need to do is you need to forget about scales, you need to forget about arpeggios, you need to forget about techniques, and say, if I can play the subdivisions, like, right? You need to stick to 4 notes or 5 notes and slide up and down. Something simple that you don't have to focus on where you go. And then you need to practice improvisation. Because what are you really practicing? Are you practicing techniques? Are you practicing rhythm? Are you practicing scales? Are you practicing arpeggios, vibrato, sliding, bending? What are you practicing when you're playing up against a jam track? Most people, and we're talking 95% of people, are not practicing improvisation. They're simply just going through the moves whenever they sit down. It's an enormous shift, a radical shift in your mind and your body when you're actually practicing improvising. Because when you do that, it's like a gun to your head. Please play something meaningful right now. And most people just go, whatever. Right? Wrong scale, but whatever, right? We play a lot of things and we fire off this lick and we try this, right? And we try to do something that sounds like a solo. But what we really need to do is we need to speak notes. And I know this sounds unbelievably boring, but it is so sweet and such a pleasurable experience when you practice like this. That you put on the jam track, or the backing track in the background, or play with the guys, and then you simply start, okay, 4 notes only, and you stick with that. You have to use discipline. Stick with 4 notes. First position, minor pentatonic in the 12th fret, right? See if you can play one phrase that sounds absolutely 1000% professional. One phrase. Then, once you play that phrase, and I mean just a couple of notes, right? I went from this, right? I went from all that to just, right? And really just grinding. Now I'm in a little room, a tiny little room that doesn't allow me to do anything flashy. The only thing I'm allowed to do is play something that I can actually play and that actually sounds like I know what I'm doing. And that's not much. Because that's the problem. But before we identify the problem, we cannot solve it. Right? Because we got all these things that we know. We practiced all of these things. You know, tools, scales, whatever. And all we can really use is this. And then once we know that, we can be a little bit depressed about that. Really, that's all I can do. As soon as I move outside of this little zone, my 4 notes, I try to move to another position, it's gone, right? As soon as I try to move into something else than just ba da da ba ba da ba, right? And play all the quarter notes. As soon as I play anything but quarter notes, then I'm suddenly losing my place and I can't end my lines. You know, most people can go ba 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 da da da, right? And we can actually try it. You can actually end all your lines when you're playing quarter notes. Try to play 8 notes, right? Ba, 1 and 2 and ba din, ba ba da do, ba ba ba. And most people stumble right there because there's a basic skill we haven't focused on, which is rhythm. But it might be something else that you're trying to do and then you don't succeed. So stick to your zone. That is actually where you can start practicing a skill that we might not have, which is improvisation on a guitar. So now you can practice techniques, you can practice scales and arpeggios, all kinds of other stuff. But when you're practicing improvisation, you don't use anything that you don't know. Why would you do that? As soon as you try to move outside this little zone, then you're not practicing improvisation. Now you're practicing technique, and now you're practicing that arpeggio. That's not what that was about. So practice improvisation. And how does that sound when you get it down? Well, it sounds like every single thing you play follows naturally the next one. Ba ba bo, be be bo, ba ba do, be dee do bo. Quarter notes, right? Simple stuff. But everything you play is because of what you just played. And you can already do that because everything you say when you talk to somebody is because of what you just said. You're making meaning happen. And we have an innate capability of doing that with music. So start with 1 note and quarter notes, right? 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 It's so simple. And then I might go for 8 notes. I might actually use the upstrokes, but already many people start stumbling there. Just a little side note here. Just listen to what is actually going on as soon as I use the upstrokes and I'm able to go quarter notes and upstrokes, right? It's like a whole new world opens up from ba 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 ba, right, to ba ba, right? That's a level. Humility is what you need here. You need to get off your high horse and everything you ever learned, right? All your skills and whatever that is, and then just go do, right? Baby steps here, because that is the truth of why we cannot improvise. Because point 1, we never practiced it because we couldn't. We were too busy playing all kinds of stuff we don't master. And point 2, you know, we have to get so simple. We have to go into the inner core of what we really master in order to practice improvisation as a skill by itself. As soon as we start going into stuff we don't know, we start practicing that and not improvisation. Please get this, right? Because you can really learn to improvise if you stay within that zone. Next video on this playlist, be sure to watch that as well. We're going to continue here.